and welcome back for episode number 152 of the weekly playback. This is the hairstyle we're going with today just because my bangs are really long and I did not get a chance to trim them again recently, and I just wanted them out of my eyes, so just try to brush them off to the side. So we'll see if they actually stay there. So yeah, anyway, I've only played like 3 games in the last week, so 2 of them are new to me, so let's just get started. Let's talk about Railroad Tiles. So Railroad Tiles is a 2025 game for 1 to 4 players, or if you got the 5th player expansion, then 1 to 5 players. It's designed by Hjalmar Hach and Lorenzo Silva, and the art is done by Francesco de Benedictis and Marta Tranquilli, and it's published by Horrible Guild Games. And this is an all-in deluxe edition, which I backed on Kickstarter, so this is not a review copy. So this is a tile placement and route building, network building game. So in this game, if you've played the Roll and Write edition, you know, kind of similar, it's just kind of the tile edition of that. I have a couple of the Roll and Write editions of this, but I would play it more often on my iPad because the trains and different things become animated when you play it on the iPad, and it's one of my favorite games to play on my iPad actually. So anyway, so I was really excited for the actual board game tile edition of this cat hair. Okay, so in this, you are basically going to be drafting tiles and then placing them and building up your route, your network. So start player is determined randomly at the start of the game, and then the person who will be going last in turn order will get to select their starting tile first. So you'll pull out 4 tiles from the main bag, and the person who will be last in turn order will get to pick their tile first. And then you have this station board, and underneath the station board you are going to see these green boxes, and underneath them you're going to draw a certain number of tiles and place the indicated number underneath each of those sections. So for here you'll have 2, 2, 3, 3, and 4. Your meeples up here will indicate your turn order. So if you are first in turn order, your meeple will be in the 1 section. If you're second, it'll be in the 2nd section, and so on. This is kind of like a round tracker. You're going to have these tokens that will be upside down on the clock, and one will appear in the current round, and then they'll slide over as each round progresses, and then slide off of the board, and I'll explain what those are for. So yeah, so on your turn, you will select one of the tiles. Now, if you select the grouping, say you were last in the first round, but you selected the tiles that this section, which only gives you 2 tiles. And so you would place your meeple here, which then would mean that you get to go first in the next round. So then your meeple, your person would come over here in the number 1 section, and that will mean that you will get to draft first in the next round. So the fewer tiles you take in one round, the earlier you will get to go in the subsequent round. And as I mentioned, there are these round tiles, and you will flip one over. If you happen to flip one over that has a flag on it, like this one, that means you will immediately get to place one of your 3 objective tiles into your network. So at the beginning of the game, you will decide which 3 different objective tiles you want to include in the game. So for example, I actually thought this was a cruise ship because on the back, it looked like a cruise ship to me. I guess, I don't know what ships look like, but maybe this should have given it away that it's not a cruise ship, but I actually thought it was a ship at port, but it turns out it's actually a stadium. So this is a stadium, for example. So let's suppose we flipped over one of the round tokens and it showed a flag. You would decide which of your 3 objective tiles you want to add to your city. So, and the different objectives score in different ways. So for example, the stadium, it says the stadium must have at least 3 traveler pawns in the tiles that surround it. So in that case, you're going to want to try to find tiles that have traveler pawns on them, like this one, for example. That is a traveler pawn, the red pinpoint. The airport, so it says the airport must be placed in the same row or column as at least 1 town tile that is part of a city. So you're going to see tiles that have like city sections on them, and some of them are just cities themselves. Like this, for example, is just a whole city section with like no roads or railroads. So in order to score city sections at the end of the game, you want at least 3 tiles connected in a grouping to have a city section. And so you want to try to separate your city sections so that you can score more points. So if I had this in one part of my city, this is a city section in one part of my whole, I guess we'll call it a city, whatever. So this would score 5 points by itself at the end of the game. But if I ended up just connecting all of my city tiles into one big blob city, then I'm only still going to score 5 points. So you want to try to separate them and have 3 here, 3 there, 3 there, so you'll maximize your points. But for the airport, you're going to need it connected to at least a part of a city, one part of a city. So, you know, again, there's different objective tiles, and you, when a flag token appears during that round, you will then place out one of your objective tiles when you're also placing out your tiles. Now, after the first round, so in the first round, let's suppose this tile came out and it was down here. You will not be placing out trains onto your train pinpoints, but you will in the next round because this is going to slide over. So whenever you see one of these round tiles in this section, then you will be able to place one of those meeples onto a pinpoint in your city. So for example, if I had, let's see if I can find one. If I had this in my city, I could now place a train meeple on top of this. And then I would get a 1 point token. So there are these point tokens, and you will start keeping track of your points immediately as you start placing down meeples. Now, in a subsequent round, if another train icon appeared in one of these, and I can place another train meeple, if it's a part of the same network of same route as the previous meeple I placed, so then now I have 2 on the same route, then I would score 2 points. So you want to try to connect as many of your meeples together as you can so that when you place them, you will score more points. There are these star meeples, and each person starts with 1 star meeple in hand. And then you will be able to maybe get more throughout the game, and I'll talk about how that happens. But basically, you can use a star in order to change which meeple you put down. So let's suppose this was showing in the current round that you can put down a car meeple, but I don't have any car pinpoints in my city. I can spend a star meeple in order to now put down a train instead, or a traveler pawn, like one of those little red dudes. So I can do that. I can spend a star meeple if I want to. How you can get more star meeples is for whichever, so for example, in a 4-player game, whichever set of tiles is not selected will have a star meeple put on top of it. So if it gets selected in the next round, whoever selects it will now have that star meeple that they can use then. And if it is again not selected, you would then put another star meeple on it at the end of that round. So, you know, then people will be incentivized to pick up that set of tiles because they will get those star meeples. So the game will end once, I think, so let me see how many of these tokens there are and how many rounds there are in total, because I can't remember the exact number of rounds. I think it is 8 rounds in total, but I could be wrong. End of game. The last round begins when the last placement token moves away from the waiting room. Okay, so this is the waiting room. So as soon as the last token moves over here, that is the last round. And then you will go to end of game scoring. So end of game scoring. So again, for each city you have, for each group of 3 or more orthogonally adjacent town tiles, you will score 5 points. Oh, you will also score points for your biggest rectangle. So find the biggest rectangle of tiles without holes in your territory, and you will score 1 point for each tile that is a part of that rectangle. Then you will subtract for opening penalties. So each end of a path, you know, this is just like kind of like the roll and write, or if you play on the app, you're going to lose points for openings as well. So each end of a path that does not connect with any other path is called an opening. You are allowed up to 5 openings, but you lose 1 point for each opening exceeding the 5th. And then you will get points for your objectives if you played with those, and then whoever has the most points will win. So yeah, so I guess it's not mandatory to play with the objectives. It says after you've played a few games, then you can add in the objectives. But if you're a seasoned gamer, I think you just want to start playing with objectives immediately. It's going to make the game a little bit more interesting and give you more choices. So yeah, so that is essentially the game. So let me count up how many of these we have. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, it was 8 rounds total because you have 7 of these, and once the last one moves off of the waiting room, then you will have the last round. So 8 rounds in total to play, and you have a bag filled with all kinds of tiles. So just to show you some examples, like I'm sure, you know, you kind of will get the idea of what kinds of tiles you might encounter. Yeah, so just all different kinds of cool tiles. And then if you backed the expansion, there are so many different expansions. So I backed the all-in deluxe edition. So I have all these different expansions and I'm really excited to play with all of them, seriously. Well, maybe not so much the circus one. So when this game was on Kickstarter, I was one of the people who was nagging them in the comments and saying to them how horrible it is that they have a circus expansion that was showing an elephant on the meeples. So I'm very curious whether or not in the finished edition, whether there are elephants on the meeples. So why don't we check now? Because I left so many comments and I was encouraging other people to leave comments so that they would not have elephants in their circus trucks. So let's see what we have here. So again, I have all of the expansions. So here are some boat meeples. No, maybe that goes with the lakes expansion. We've got some airplanes. I think those are, no, are those airplanes? No, maybe they're windmills. Maybe they're windmills. Maybe they go with the, yeah, I think they're actually windmills. Never mind. I think they go with the electricity expansion. So each expansion has kind of its own little rule book thingy. So let me find the electricity one because I think that's that one. Where are you? Oh, here we go. Energy expansion. So yeah, so that's that one. The boats, I wonder what the boats go with. Maybe the canal, no, the lakes. I'm guessing they go with the lakes because there's a boat right there. So yeah, I think the boats go with that. Oh, these are cute. We've got little farm animals. We've got little sheep and piggies and cows. Oh, those are so cute. So let's see which ones those go with. I'm guessing countryside. Yeah, because you can see little sheep there. So yeah, super duper cute. So yeah, so really excited to play with that. And I'm really looking forward to just playing this solo as well, because I really, like I said, enjoy playing Railroad Ink on my iPad. It's just a really nice game to play solo, so looking forward to that. We have, what do we have here? Camels. So pretty sure this goes with the desert expansion. Toffee. We've got monuments, and I'm guessing monuments is this. That would be my guess. I do not know, but that's my guess. Okay, here, let's pull out these circus ones now and see what we have here. And I hope I will not be disappointed. So I'm not sure if all of these go with the circus, but we've got some blue looking cars. Maybe that goes with the world expansion actually, because it looks like it kind of matches up with the color here. So maybe that goes with that. Then we've got some red dudes, and I have no idea what these are supposed to be, because they have like, it looks like they're, some of them look like they're holding some kind of like a paddle or something. Like, are they like playing sports? I have no idea what that is. Like, I could not figure out what they go with if I were trying to figure it out. Maybe I didn't back the circus expansion. No, I did, because I have circus tiles here, but I don't see the, I don't see like the thing for the circus. Did I leave it in the box? Oh, that's weird. I don't see, or maybe for some of them, like this is all for, like, where is the circus one? I don't even see it. That's weird. Did I accidentally throw it away? I don't know. Like, I checked everything, so I couldn't have accidentally thrown it away. I am very confused. This is all the 5th player expansion stuff, so I stuck it all in a separate bag. Okay, I really don't know where the circus thing is. That's bizarre. I don't understand where that went. Or maybe it goes with world? Do you think it goes with the, oh, it does. Actually, it goes with the world expansion. Okay, so these special ponds, including these ones, go with the world expansion. So it includes a racing car, bus, tow truck, cement mixer, tractor, off-road vehicle, circus wagon, steam train, light rail, crane wagon, cargo wagon, bullet train, family mechanic, police officer, mayor, thief, tourist, and dog. Okay, so let's look at some of these. So yeah, it does not look like there's an elephant in the circus truck. So that makes me really happy. So it looks like they listened in the end and did not include an elephant. So very awesome. So we can pretend it's just a circus of just clowns and other people. Awesome. So really, really happy about that. So yeah, so it looks like a lot of these just go with the world expansion. And then I think that this bag is just for the 5th player expansion. So it just includes extra meeples that go along with all of the expansions. So that's very cool. And I don't know if you play with an expansion, do you like mix in the tiles with the regular tiles? And so that maybe, so it says, how does this work? So it includes 10 additional sets. So like I'm looking at the one for the world. So this expansion includes 10 additional sets of objective tiles, and they work exactly like those in the core game, blah, blah, blah. So you can use all the objectives from the core game, this expansion, any other expansion, or any combination of these options. So I wonder if you swap out any regular tiles. I don't know. I guess I'll find out when I start playing with some expansions. But yeah, I'm so happy that there's no elephant in the circus cars. So that makes me really, really happy. So really excited to play with some of these different expansions. And you know, they each have their own baggie. So here's, I don't know, I think this is the lake one. So just really, really cool. Yeah, just really excited to play more of these. So yeah, so that is railroad tile. So if you enjoy the roll and write version, and if you've ever played with the app, which is a lot of fun because again, the trains and the different things get animated and it has nice little sounds as well. So if you're playing at home where you can hear it, then yeah, it's just really fun and pleasant to play. Then I would recommend this game. Like I really enjoyed, we played it twice and I enjoyed my 2 plays of this. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to playing it solo as well. So yeah, so that is railroad tiles. So not super difficult to learn, pretty easy to play, and it's a quick playing, fun tile placement game. So yeah, so check it out if that sounds like something you're interested in. So let's move on. Let's talk about Viking Raiders. This is a 2022 game for 2 to 5 players designed by Morten Bilcliffe, and the art is done by Noman Afzal, Tristram Rawson, and Mofai Wang, and it's published by Neil Wolf Games, and this is a review copy which I received from the publisher. So this is a very much a push your luck, set collection, take that, and hand management game. So I'm going to maybe just post a picture, but you're going to basically start with some cards in hand, some Viking cards, and there's going to be a market deck and market cards laid out. So you're going to have 8 market cards laid out, and there's going to be a separate deck of cards that will give you raid protection, which, you know, I'll explain what those are. So let me just show you the different kinds of cards that you might have displayed. So, let me just separate up the raid protection cards. Okay, so here are some examples of cards you will see in the market. And there are 3 different types of cards that will come out in the market. You're gonna have loot cards, which are like gold and stuff like that. You'll have like these clan cards, which are with a green border. And then you'll have navy cards, which have a blue border. So those are the different kinds of cards that you'll see come out in the market. Sometimes you'll have an event card come out and you'll do what it says, but that does not stay in the market for someone to select. So I'll talk about how you purchase cards from the market. And then these are the different types of Viking cards that you will have. So Viking cards will include, and there's a whole stack of them, but there's, you know, they're going to include like action cards. They're going to include resource cards, which you will be using to purchase items from the market, and so on. They might include some protection cards, like that protect you from an action being used against you, and so on. So you're going to start with a certain number of cards in hand. I believe it was 6 cards, but I cannot remember exactly. But let me just double check. I think it was 6 that you start with. Yeah, 6 cards. So you'll start with 6 Viking cards, and you're going to set up the market so that the 8 are visible, and then you'll have the draw deck face down, and next to the market deck, or wherever, somewhere on the table, you'll have these raid protection cards. And I'll explain what these are for, but you do not purchase these. You only use these if you're going to be raided, and I'll explain how that happens. So on your turn, the first thing you're going to do, and sorry, before we begin, you can optionally play with these clan leader cards, which I recommend, and it gives you a special kind of ability. So they'll either give you a discount on a certain type of card when you're buying a certain kind of card, or it will give you more raid protection if you are being raided. So for example, if you are Lagertha and you have this chief card, you get 2 more raid protection cards when your clan is raided. I played as Hakan, and Hakan gave me a discount of 1 resource when purchasing Navy cards. So I recommend playing with these because, you know, why not? Okay, and then there's extra things you can do if you are playing with the chief cards as well, which we will get into. So on your turn, what you're going to do is the first thing you're going to do is draw 2 cards. Sometimes a card will come up that will tell you, oh, you have to now, after your turn is over, shuffle in the discards with the draw deck again. You know, certain cards will come up. Sometimes a card will come up at the market that may even make you skip your turn, which is really crappy, which happened to me. So different kinds of cards can come up, but I'm just going to go over just the basic how to play. So you'll draw 2 cards, and then you will, in any order, you can play an action card, or you can buy from the market, or you can do neither, you can do both, but you can't do one thing twice. So you can't buy from the market twice unless you play an action card that lets you, and you can't like play more than 1 action card unless you play an action card that then lets you play another action card. So otherwise it's just purchase from the market or play an action card. So you can do both, or just one or the other, or neither if you want. But you must draw 2 cards to begin your turn. So if you're purchasing a card from the market, so before you begin the game, rather, you're going to decide the victory condition. If you want to play a shorter game, each person will need 5 victory points in each of the 3 different categories, which includes clan, loot, and navy. So the different options are 5 points, 6 points, 7 points, or 8 points. Quite frankly, I would recommend playing with 5 because it is a very long game, because there's a lot of take that. So I think 5 is probably sufficient if you don't want to be playing this game forever and never. So we decided 6, and then like, you know, at some point I was like, maybe we should change it to 5. But then my friends were like, no, we're gonna play this all the way through, and we're sticking with 6. So I was like, fine. So if you're purchasing a card, you're of course going to spend the resources that are indicated on the bottom. Now, if you have a certain chief, you might get a discount. And then you add it in front of you face up in your play area. So everyone can see that you have 1 victory point now in loot. So again, in order to win the game immediately, and you can win on someone else's turn, if you're playing 5, you would need, for example, 5 in loot, you would need 5 in navy, and 5 in clan. In order to purchase a level 2 victory point card, you have to have at least 1 victory point in that category already. And the same applies for the other cards. So for example, in order to get a level 3 fleet navy card, so this is a navy card, you have to have already 2 victory points in navy before you can purchase this one. So, you know, so for example, if I had like 2 level 1 cards, then that's 2 victory points right there. So then I could purchase a level 3 card if I wanted to. And now I have a total of 5 victory points in navy. But again, this is a take that game. So there's going to be lots of options for people to take your cards and mess with you. There's going to be cards that come up that make you hand over your entire hand to the person next to you, which I had to do. You know, that card came up at one point and I had really good cards, had to hand over my entire hand of really good cards to the person on my right. And then I got really shitty cards after that. There were cards that came up that would make me skip my turn, like you would do something, I can't remember, and then it would be like, okay, and then play moves on, and I'm like, wait a second, I didn't even get to do anything though, because this card was just revealed in the market, and I didn't even get to like actually do anything. So things like that happen. One of the actions you can do against another player is to raid them. So for example, here is a raid card. So if you played this as an action, you would decide who you want to raid and what you want to raid. So you would decide, am I raiding their loot? Am I raiding their clan? Or am I raiding their navy? Then they're going to take their cards of the cards that you are raiding. So like, let's suppose I decide to raid someone's navy and they have 3 navy cards. They are then going to take their navy cards and add 3 raid protection cards, shuffle all those cards together, and then I draw draw a card. If it's a raid protection, I lose. If it's another card, then I'm successful and I get to keep that card that I selected. And then they would take the raid protection cards and add it back to the raid protection deck, because you only use these for when you are being raided. There are special ability cards that might come up in the market, and you can only have one ability at a time. So here is an ability, for example. Let me find the one that actually has to do with raids. Yeah, here's one, Surge of Strength. So let's suppose you bought this from the market, it costs more resources, you can only have one ability at a time. And it says, if you lose a card in a raid, you have a 1 in 2 chance to win it back. Mix the raided card with one raid protection card and try to pick it out. If you get the raided card, you have won it back. So abilities are powerful, but you can only have one at a time. But again, there are ways for you to lose your abilities even when you are playing this game. So again, a lot of take that in this game, and it's just going on and on and on because people are just stealing cards from each other. You're just like, you know, at one point it's like, is this game ever going to end? Like, oh my God. Now, if you were playing with chiefs, there are some other things that can happen. So offerings, instead of, so it says you may choose to draw 3 cards at the beginning of your turn instead of the normal 2. However, after looking at the cards, you must then discard 2 of these cards before proceeding. So in that way, you only end up with 1 card. So not sure if it's the greatest. Black market. Instead of buying from the market as normal, you may buy the top card of the market supply for any 3 resources. For example, 2 stone and 1 gold. You may trade for those resources as normal. So yeah, you can always trade. I forgot to mention that. So if you're short on a resource, you can spend any 2 of 1 resource to be one other resource. It says you are not allowed to look at the card first. And then mercenaries. If you are raided, you may buy extra raid protection cards for that raid only. 1 raid protection card costs 1 resource, and you may buy as many as you have resources for, and you can trade for resources as normal. Yeah, so those are just some extra rules you can play with if you are playing with the chiefs. So that is how the game plays. And again, you have to have the requisite number of victory points in each of the 3 categories in order to announce that you have won. And you can again win at any time on someone else's turn even. So what do I think of this game? I think if you don't mind a lot of take that, you will enjoy it. I think it's one of those games where I feel like there's no strategy to mitigate all the take that. So it's like you can, you know, have, you know, a number of cards in front of you, but there's no way to really protect those cards because it's all luck of the draw. Like, it's luck of the draw whether you're going to get, you know, some action card which can protect you. It's luck of the draw if you get a card that you can stop someone from trying to raid you. It's really luck of the draw, you know, and it's luck when you add in these raid protection cards, and if someone is selecting a card from you because they're raiding you, like, you know, it comes down to luck. Like, you know, it's not a game where you can strategize and actually end up protecting yourself because of your strategizing. Like, it's really just all kind of luck dependent, and for that I'm not a huge fan. Like, it just feels like it goes on, and at a certain point it's like, what's the point? Like, what is the point of this? Because you're just, you know, getting raided and you're just losing stuff for random reasons, and it's like, what is the point of this? Like, it's just like going on and on and on, and at a certain point I just wanted it to end. But if you don't mind games like that, then you might very well enjoy this. You know, it's been many, many years since I played Munchkin, but it reminded me a bit of Munchkin. And I remember how much I hated Munchkin. Like, I hated Munchkin. It felt like one of those card games that just went on and on and on, and I just could not see the appeal of it. But hey, if you enjoy Munchkin, maybe you'll enjoy this game as well. So if you enjoy games like that, then I think you should check this out. And if you enjoy the Viking theme, then you might enjoy this. But it definitely was not for me, and I will not be playing it again. You know, I thank the publisher for giving me a review copy, for letting me try it, but just was not for me, just because I feel like there's not too many ways to, or any ways to really mitigate the bad stuff that's happening to you. It's not like you can build up like protection and be like, okay, I have a certain number of this now, so you can't raid this. Like, if there was some way like to actually strategize to protect yourself, then maybe I would enjoy it. But because it's really just so much luck and take that, not my cup of tea. But yeah, but that is how to play Viking Raiders and my thoughts on Viking Raiders. So let's move on. So another game I played recently is Rebel Princess. I've played this a number of times now. It's a trick-taking game. And this time we played it with the new expansion, which is the Happily Never After expansion. It comes in a really nice box. So I just purchased this recently as well. And it comes with a rule book explaining the new cards. So it comes with new round cards, and it comes with 2 new tiles. Princess tiles. So I will show you what it comes, what the new stuff is, if I can actually find the new stuff, because I think I just mixed it all together. But let's see. And if your cards are sleeved, it will not all fit in the box. So I had to remove the insert. So is it the Ice Princess? No, it's the Swan. So there's like a, yeah, here we go. Swan Maiden. So that's one of the new tiles. So it says temporarily hidden. On your turn, choose to play last on any trick. And then there is Red Riding Hood, which says unmask. On your turn, ask for a specific card, and if a player has it, trade it for another card of the same suit. So those are the 2 new tiles that came with this, and then a certain number of new round cards came with the game as well. So we have Some Enchanted Evening, we have Same Old Story, and this plays just like a regular round, like just a regular trick-taking game, and each prince is worth -1 proposal, so you actually want to win them. We have Secret Bid, we have It's Too Drafty in here, Surprise Wedding, and Bequeathed. So I believe that these were all the new cards that came with that. And then you also get a new rule book, the new score pad. And the new score pad looks like this. So it's like a nighttime theme, which is really nice, but otherwise it's exactly the same. So you just have more score sheets. I would recommend, if it's a game you're gonna play a lot, just, laminating anyway, just so you don't end up ever needing more. And then no new cards of these, of course. So yeah, so that's basically it. And just, I think I mentioned this, but this is so nice. It just feels like such a shame to actually throw this away, but it doesn't like really fit into the box. I thought I could maybe just keep it, but it like would be a very tight fit, and then I wouldn't have room for all the cards and the tiles and stuff. But it's like, I'm just wondering like what you guys feel about this packaging, because it really was not necessary to go all out with this packaging when you just have to discard it in the end. It's so nice. Like, this packaging is just so freaking nice. And it feels like such a shame to have to discard it. Ugh, it's just gonna hurt me. Like, so I think I'm just gonna keep it and try to find some use for it. I have no idea what use I could possibly find for that. And I feel like a hoarder just saying that. But it just seems so, like, just so wasteful to just throw away such a nice, thing. And it's just really, really nice packaging. So I really don't want to throw it away. But yeah, so that is what comes with the new expansion. And the rulebook mentions that there are some promo cards that you can buy from Bezier directly. I don't know if I will, when I would get an opportunity to do that. I will probably get an opportunity to purchase them from Zombie Paella before I get to purchase them from Bezier. I don't know if Zombie Paella will have them as well. But it says that there's a promo princess cards, Beauty Kingmaker and Carmesina Reflection. So yeah, I hope I will find a way to purchase those promo cards, because I do really enjoy this game. One thing that I realized is when I'm playing trick-taking games, I really need a practice round. So that would be really helpful to me to have a practice round before we actually start playing, because my mind really needs to be in a certain way for me to play a trick-taking game. Like, I really need to get in the trick-taking mindset before I can even have a chance at winning a trick-taking game. So I think going forward, I'm always just gonna ask my friends if we can just do like one practice round for me to get into that trick-taking mindset before we start playing, because otherwise I'm definitely going to lose. So yeah, so that was another game I played recently and a new purchase of mine. And then let me just show you another new arrival, which also goes along with the princess theme. So I had backed Cinderella at midnight on Kickstarter, and that arrived. It's a solo game with some really pretty cards. So I'll just show you the cards. And it's like you're just trying to get Cinderella home before like midnight. And it's like just kind of like a route building game and stuff like that. And it even comes with a little Cinderella pawn that you're going to have. So you will assemble her on her little standee. And then there's the rule book, and then there's this like sheet where you can keep track of your scores and different achievements and stuff like that. So yeah, I backed this because I do enjoy these little wallet games, though I probably should talk about the ones I play on my channel more, because I have played a number of the button shy ones I have, but I haven't ever talked about them. But I enjoy these little solo wallet games. I think that they're quite easy to play and just fun to play, so I'm looking forward to playing this one. So that is just something that arrived recently, so let's move on. So I'm not backing anything right now, and I'm definitely going to be culling Viking Raiders. So that is my update for games that I'm backing and games that I'm culling. I still need to really make time for going through my games and getting back to cataloging them and stuff like that. And if I paid for them, adding what I paid for them and so on, if I'm planning on selling them. Because, you know, it's just out of control, but I've just been so busy this summer. It's just been a really busy summer, even though I'm actually like not traveling. I'm just like staying put. But it's just been a very busy summer with like just a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, so anyway, so hopefully I'll get into that again soon and have more updates for you guys. And yeah, and do some more giveaways. You know, if it's been a long time since I've done one, please feel free to leave a comment below and say, can you please do one? And maybe that might motivate me to, you know, find time to try to do all of this stuff. So yeah, so anyway, so let's move on. So for this week's fiction book club, we were supposed to read chapters 11 through 15, which actually finishes the first section of the book. So the first section of the book was called The Lab, which is all just an introduction to the lab and the people in the lab. So in chapters 11 through 15, we get to learn about justice. And so I actually, you know, for these few chapters, I actually listened because I have a Spotify subscription. So I actually found this book on, so you can like listen to audiobooks with Spotify as well. And I found that this book has an audiobook. So for these chapters, I actually listened to the audiobook while I was on a drive somewhere. So that helped. So I actually was able to hear the pronunciation of Justice's name, as well as the pronunciation of the pronouns like zer, zim, and I'm forgetting what the other like configuration or whatever you call it of that pronoun is. And the person who was doing the reading of the audiobook said those pronouns so effortlessly, I can't talk, while they were reading, which was really like impressive. Because for me, it doesn't come effortlessly. Like when I'm reading it, like I have to like really be like, okay, Zay started, like Zay did this, like Zem, like Zim, Zaire, like, yeah. So it's, you know, still something that takes a little bit more effort for me. But anyway, so we learned about Justice's background, which I thought was really interesting. And, you know, one thing that, you know, I learned like in school, and I'm sure other people did, like when we had writing assignments, is that you always have to show, not tell, right? So your writing should show something. It shouldn't be like, and then this happened and blah, blah, blah. Like it has to show it, not just tell it. But for this, I felt like it was kind of like telling rather than showing. But sometimes I think that the authors don't have a choice. Like how else do you kind of get that information out? So like when we learn about Justice's background and how they were imprisoned and this and that, it just felt like a lot of telling rather than showing, right? But like how would that come out otherwise? So I don't blame the author for that. But again, it was interesting to learn their background. And I think, you know, as they're talking, I think they make so many points, which I'm like agreeing with them, like, yes, loving this. Like you know, obviously I think it's really great that the author has really made a book that like really, you know, encapsulates like what they as an anarchist believe and what they are trying, the kind of society that they want to see. And it's just really, really nice to read it. Like when Angel is having that discussion with Justice about the war, like, oh, that was so interesting. And I'm like, wow, like not what I was expecting. Like when he said he was going to war, I was not expecting this whole thing in Brazil with like the climate and these big corporations and wanting to kill indigenous people. Like that like really left me like blindsided. I was like, wow, like, you know, so that was really unexpected, and I'm really like interested in learning more about that. So That was very cool to learn about. But then when Justice and Angel are like kissing, I think they were kissing or hugging or doing something, and I'm just like, wait a second, like Justice just explained to Angel like how he's basically being sent off to kill indigenous people, and now they're making out? Like, I'm like, Justice, like, what are you doing? Like, this is someone who's going to go and commit war crimes thinking that they're doing good. Like, why are they, like, you know, now hooking up? Like, that just kind of, I don't know, I thought that that was a bit weird. I'm like, that's not something I would be doing with someone who I know is going off to kill a bunch of indigenous people. But maybe Angel, maybe something happened and we don't know. Maybe Angel decided he's not going to go fight after all, and we just didn't learn about that yet. So I don't know. Yeah, just learning about Red's, you know, dating history and stuff like that. I guess interesting. And then seeing how Maddie, her feelings are changing once she learns about Red's dating history. And then when she sees Red making out with this other person, and then, you know, all of a sudden she's feeling a bit different and starting to see like how gross this place is that she's living in. Like, I would never want to live somewhere like that. Like, I never, you know, just going off on a tangent, like I never have had a roommate, except my ex-husband, I guess. But even that made me realize, like, I live alone now, and that made me realize, like, yeah, I prefer living alone. Like, I just cannot deal with gross bathrooms or just, yeah, just stuff that, yeah, I just prefer cleanliness, and I prefer not having to deal with other people's messes. And I just cannot imagine living in like this kind of lab that they're living in, with like so many people coming and going and using your bathroom and leaving it all filthy and disgusting, and no one cleans it. Like, the description of the bathroom just made me want to vomit. I've actually seen worse. Like, I one time was invited again, I'm going off on a tangent here. When I went to South Africa, I usually travel alone, and a few years ago I was in South Africa and I met up with a content creator. Pretty sure none of these people watch my videos, so it's okay, I can talk about it. So this one other content creator in South Africa invited me to a game night at one of his friends' place, and I had to use the bathroom at one point. This is when we played Ark Nova, by the way, which I absolutely do not like, and I just had no way to just get up and leave early because I had a ride to this place. And yeah, anyway, so I was just kind of stuck in this place until we finished this god-awful game, which I just was not enjoying. So anyway, at one point I had to use the bathroom, and oh my god, it was the most filthy bathroom, just so disgusting, and whoever used it last didn't even flush the toilet, and I'm like, how do people live like this? Like, how? Like, just thinking about it makes me want to vomit. So yeah, so anyway, so I cannot imagine, like, yeah, anyway, sorry, I'm going off on a million tangents here. So yeah, just all very interesting stuff so far, and now we're getting to the part of where we're learning how, you know, this whole eminent domain thing, where they're gonna like try to build this, like, what's it called? I can't remember, the maglev metro, whatever. They're like, you know, they're gonna need to tear down the lab because of this thing that they're building. And it says that it was a third notice. So this letter that, you know, was just sitting there that Maddie then looks at, it's like, how irresponsible can you be that you have not been reading these letters, that you could have done something sooner? And now you find out that you have how many hours? How many days? Let's see. Yeah, so, okay, they have a week, so it's more than a few hours, but they have a week now before the demolition crew is going to come and tear down their lab. But again, this was the third and final notice that they received. Like, it's just so irresponsible. So yeah, so now it's getting interesting. So now the next section of the book is the Free People's Village. So for next time, read chapters 16 through 20. So I went through the entire book, and if we just keep on doing 5 chapters at a time, I think that that'll work. So yeah, so for next time, read chapters 16 through 20, and let me know what you think in the comments below, if you have anything that really stuck out to you, what you found most interesting. You know, again, I really enjoyed, you know, the arguments that Justice was making. I enjoyed, you know, seeing this person, Maddie, like, learn and kind of be like, wow, like, I really am naive or stupid, that I didn't understand these things. Like, I really am enjoying that, and I wish, you know, reality were more like that. I wish reality could be where people start to understand their privileges and can really see it from other people's point of view, because we would not have the state of, you know, the thing, maybe the world would be a lot better then. But anyway, so let me know what you think, and for next week, reads chapters 16 through 20. So let's move on. So for this week, we were supposed to finish reading Genocide Bad. So we were supposed to read Part 3, Towards Collective Liberation, What Does Free Palestine Even Mean? So from page 199 up until the end on page 214. And the following chapter includes like letters from Palestinians, so notes from the families of babies born during the genocide of Gaza. So the second to last chapter, you know, what does Free Palestine even mean? Like that really like spoke to me. Like I really enjoyed this chapter, and just seeing what kind of a world this author, Sim Kern, and you know, hopes to see someday, because it's exactly the kind of world I hope to see someday. And it just, you know, makes you feel a little bit less alone, knowing that there are other people who want the same thing as you, who are educated and understand that, you know, it makes you feel less alone, because like the author said, you can feel really hopeless. You can feel really, really hopeless, like, you know, like no one gets it. We're never going to achieve this. But knowing that there are other people in this world who are fighting for the same thing, you know, just gives you a little bit more hope than you would have had. So what does Free Palestine mean to Sim Kern? So they say, imagining a world beyond imperialism and capitalism is hard. In my experience, the average USian can't do it at all. And why can't the average USian do it is because we are inundated with, like the author says, stories of individual heroism and vengeance as justice, never collective liberation. So it's like media really controls how people end up feeling about certain things. And one thing that I feel really bad about is when I was reading this is because I always considered Batman to be my favorite superhero. I was always like, here is a man who is using his wealth for good. He's fighting evil. He's like, you know, rounding up these criminals and dropping them off at prisons. And I thought Batman was super duper cool, right? But then the author says, Bruce Wayne, criminally hoarding the wealth of the people of Gotham, creating the artificial scarcity that drives them to steal, is never identified as the true enemy of the people. And that really hit me. I was like, oh shit, like I really liked Batman, and here I've been liking someone who is hoarding this wealth, and what is he really doing in the end then? So yeah, so that really kind of opened my eyes. Another superhero I love is Daredevil. So he's this attorney. He doesn't seem to be ultra wealthy, like from what I've seen in the TV show at least. He doesn't like live in this like super fancy apartment. I haven't seen the newest season, but I did watch, you know, the original Daredevil on Netflix and really enjoyed it. So I don't know. So I wonder if there's anything about Daredevil that I should be like, oh no, actually again falling into this capitalism trap. I don't know. So anyway, so the author says capitalism, imperialism, and individualism persist in even more brutal extremes in the world of, and then, you know, they name a couple of different IPs, including Star Wars. But the author says, but there are no major movies that paint a clear vision of how humans might reverse course on planetary destruction. You know, the author says, if you want to improve your capacity to imagine what deep freedom would look like, freedom from white supremacist, patriarchal, imperial, colonial capitalism in all its forms, then you're going to have to consume social media from the off-beaten track. And that is so true. Like the only way to really become informed about this stuff is to consume social media from the off-beaten track, because you are never going to experience that stuff in mainstream media. You're just not going to, because it does not serve the interests of these media conglomerates to show you that. So you're never going to see it. So the author talks about what anarchy means to them. Oh, also on this page, you'll see some book recommendations. So for anyone who doesn't have this book, I'm just going to read the recommendations that the author says that will stretch your political imagination. The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. Country of Ghosts by Margaret Killjoy. Inara, Light of Utopia, edited by Yafa Us. A Half-Built Garden by Ruthana Emrys. Multi-Species Cities, Solar Punk Urban Futures, edited by Christoph Ruprecht. et al. Love After the End, an anthology of two-spirit and indigiqueer speculative fiction, edited by Joshua Whitehead. Sun Vault, Stories of Solar Punk and Eco-Speculation, edited by A.C. Wise et al. A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. Real Sugar is Hard to Find, Stories by Sim Kern. So again, these are just some books that the author recommends, and I haven't read a single one of those, so I think I would be interested in checking out at least one of them. So the author talks about what anarchy means, and they consider themselves to be an anarchist, and I consider myself to be an anarchist as well. So it was nice to see the author just kind of talk about what that means. And honestly, I learned more about anarchy since the genocide began than I ever did before, and that's when I really started considering myself an anarchist, when I realized that the dual party system in America sucks, and most of the world is just controlled by capitalism, and it's all just complete bullshit. All these borders are bullshit, all these wars are bullshit. Like, that's when you really start opening your eyes. So anarchism, so the author says that most people think of chaos, but it would not be chaos if people had the things they needed, and we would have a society where everyone truly works together. So, and there's going to be a lot, and I'm not going to go through all of the points that the author makes about what anarchism is, because it would just be a lot. So I'll just name a couple that I highlighted, or a few rather, more than a couple. Anarchism calls for the abolition of hierarchies. So it stands opposed to violent coercion. So it demands not isolation and individualism, but a far more cooperative, interconnected, and complex society. So the author talks about how the CIA infiltrated creative writing programs and literary magazines across the globe in the 1950s to ensure the suppression of leftist literature. So that's why it's really hard for people to envision what true collective liberation would look like. So the author encourages you to kind of dream of this world that they dream of and how we might achieve it. So the author says, dream of a world where humans and animals have freedom to migrate across the imaginary lines colonial racists drew on a map to divide us. Citizenship is irrelevant. No bank, landlord, or colonizer can steal your home or hoard more land than they need. No one sleeps on the streets. An end to forever wars and fossil fuel consumption. A world where people gather together in sustainably re-engineered cities or tend to the land in rural areas according to their want. An end to the artificial scarcity of hunger, where we quit wasting 1.3 billion tons of food each year. I did not know that the number was so high. That is just so appalling, when there are people like in Gaza right now, in Yemen, in Africa, like just starving to death, literally starving to death as we speak. An end to fast fashion. Dream of sacrificing conveniences and consumerism in exchange for a guarantee that all your needs will be met and that you will leave a habitable earth to future generations. I do not dream of voting for some elite candidate chosen by elite interests who will somehow magically grow a conscience and enact these changes. I dream of the abolition of political elites. I dream of direct democracy, a system where you can vote on any and every issue that impacts you locally or globally. I dream of clearing the rubble of Gaza, rebuilding homes, and planting olive trees. Dream of a world where peace is maintained and boundaries respected, not through the threat of violent retribution, but from a shared recognition of our interdependence. The United States has demonstrated over the past year that it will double down again and again in support of its colony of Israel, because the loss of that colony is an existential threat to the West's global domination. So true. And the author, again, I agree with this 100%, and I will not restrict my demands for equality to the incremental window dressings of neoliberalism. Like, it's complete bullshit, and if people can't see that now, I don't know if you will ever see it. If you can't see that with the last administration we had, and now with the current administration, and how the Democrats don't give a shit about anything, you are just blind and you will never see it, I fear, if you cannot see it yet. So the author says that the first step to freeing Palestine is freeing your own mind from individualism, supremacy, and violence. And if enough of us undertake this work, eventually all these liberated communities will start to connect. Borders will blur, we will reach a tipping point, and we will free the whole world. But the author says, the UN Israeli genocide in Gaza foreshadows a looming genocide of far greater magnitude. The death of billions of people through famine, drought, heat-related deaths, and disaster fueled by climate change. 100%. Like, if this genocide has shown you anything, it's that these billionaires, these corporations rule the world, and governments are controlled by them, and they will just continue to do what they want at the expense of everyone else, at the expense of the earth, at the expense of, humans and animals on this earth. So it says the same elites profiting off of Israel's war in Gaza are equally responsible for the coming collapse of all life on earth. Again, 100% true. They wield enormous influence over academic institutions, which we've seen, journalism, and the entertainment industry to prevent liberatory education from reaching the masses, to keep most people believing in their wealth and power. Again, 100% true. So it says, in the past year, more people across the globe than ever before have expressed empathy and solidarity with Palestinians than at any moment in the past 76 years. So this is why the author clings to a free Palestine and the hope of a free Palestine, because they've seen that, in the last 2 years, more than ever before, people are recognizing what is happening and that Palestine was colonized and that Israelis are the colonizers. Because liberatory education is spreading on social media faster than corporate censorship can stop it. So the author says, never have the lies, hypocrisy, and fascism of all the liberal democracies of the world been so blatantly exposed. And the author has hope because millions of voices have spent a year sharing truth, exposing bullshit, and challenging the power of an empire. But the author says we need an overwhelming majority of people to overturn global empire. And this is why I'm always ranting about the board game industry, because here you have all these people who claim to be on the right side of history, who claim to be these woke people who are fighting for social justice and, and all this stuff, yet they have completely ignored Palestine, and they cannot see how interconnected everything is, how interconnected what's going on in America is to what's going on in Palestine. Like, literally, like, if you need the most obvious explanation of how everything's interconnected, our tax dollars are funding this genocide. Yet we still see silence in the board game industry from people who claim to be woke and claim to be fighting for this kind of world that we anarchists envision. It says, you keep on keeping on, because your cause is righteous, and because you are standing in truth, because the pain of confronting oppression is less severe than the pain of selling your soul or lying to yourself. And that's why I keep on keeping on. Like, despite having lost countless followers on Instagram when I started speaking out against the genocide, despite having people repeatedly tell me I'm the pariah of the industry, I'm a loser, I'm a Z-list reviewer, blah, blah, blah. Like, despite that, I'm going to keep on keeping on because, again, the pain of confronting oppression is less severe than the pain of selling your soul or lying to yourself. I am never going to sell my soul. Like, I refuse to ever give in and let money or anything else, popularity in an industry, like, I'm not going to let those things control me and what I stand for. And if you do, you are a freaking sellout. Like, there's just no ifs or buts about it. So, the author talks about why you should do it. Like, there can be a million reasons of why you are standing for a free Palestine and want to see collective liberation. And the one that I highlighted was for all the cute little baby animals. So yes, because I love animals more than I love humans. So for me, like, wanting to see a world where animals can live in peace without fear, without having their habitats destroyed, like, that's just a world I can only dream of. So even if, we're not going to achieve this in our lifetimes, we can at the very least, free our own minds. So the author says, discover what an enormous relief it is to allow yourself to envision a better world and speak that vision aloud. If we keep repeating truth and logic and basic moral teachings over and over and over and over, we can actually free each other. So the author talks about how important it is to, keep on saying these things so that word can spread and people can start to feel the same way. The author talks about how there were people who used to be Zionist who have changed their views because of Sim and because of Sim consistently speaking out for Palestine. So it says, when hope is depleted, there's always spite. So I have found within myself that spite is perhaps the deepest and most reliable well I can draw from. As someone who has a lot of spite for people in this board game industry who called her dangerous back in 2021 when she spoke out for Palestine, I can 100% agree with that. Spite is a really deep well. So yes. So it says, keeping a pain in the ass of your overlords, even though it's hard and there's no guarantee we will win. Find whatever reason you can to keep showing up. Maybe we can free Palestine, fuck empire, topple all tyrants, and save life on earth. So yeah, so this chapter was all about encouraging you and encouraging you to dream of a better world. And if enough of us dream of that world, enough of us work for it, then maybe we can achieve it. And that's what I've been saying over and over again. Like, it can't be just one person. It can't be just a few people. We really need a whole shit ton of people to start caring and speaking up. And that's when change will really happen. Then the author talks, reads some letters from people who had babies in Gaza. And it's just so incredibly heartbreaking. I can't even, explain how sad it is. Like, I'm just, I've said before, I'm someone who prefers animals over humans. But since the genocide began, anytime I would hear a baby crying in public, that happens now and then. You're shopping, you're at a restaurant, you're wherever, and someone's got a baby and the baby starts crying. Like, oh my God, I can't explain to you how much it pains me, because all I can do is think of the babies in Palestine. And I'm not even someone who's ever wanted children. I've never wanted children. I'm not someone who's ever had her biological clock tick and think, oh, like, babies are so cute, I want one. Like, I don't feel that way about babies, but whenever I hear a baby crying, and it's just so hard, it's so hard to see any innocent beings suffer so much, and not just babies, but children and women and men, but especially babies, because they're so freaking helpless. They're so helpless. They don't know what's happening to them. They don't know why they're not getting food to drink. They don't know why they're not getting milk and baby formula. They don't know what's going on. They're just withering away. They're just starving to death. And why? Because of Zionism. And it's just so heartbreaking. So, I would recommend you read these letters if you haven't read them. And, because it's really important to read what the Palestinians are actually saying, hear what the Palestinians are actually saying. Like, it was really important to read this book and get an anti-Zionist Jews' thoughts on the genocide, but it's also really important to hear the actual words of Palestinians and what they are going through right now. And it's absolutely horrific. It's been horrific, and it's just getting worse. Like, it feels like the world is starting to wake up finally with Palestinians in stage 5 of famine, which is, this famine inflicted, this starvation inflicted by Israel. And stage 5 is really, obviously really bad. Like, you need medical intervention. Like, even if somehow food just dropped from the heavens and people can all of a sudden start eating as much as they want, that's not enough. Like, when you are at this stage, you need medical intervention in order to heal your failing organs and everything that's happening to your body. I don't even know where I was going with this. I started saying something and now I've just lost my train of thought. But it's just, just things are really, really bad. It's just really, really heartbreaking. I lost my train of thought, so I can't remember where I was going with this. So, but yeah, just, it's important to hear what Palestinians are going through from themselves, so yeah. So anyway, let me know what you thought of the last 2 chapters of this book, what your feelings are. Please leave them in the comments below. So regarding the next nonfiction book, some people have mentioned that they would be interested in reading about and learning about Iran, which I think would be really cool. So, you know, as I mentioned before on my channel, I actually have a master's degree in Middle Eastern Studies with a focus on Iran. So in my mom's garage, I have books, like I have boxes and boxes and boxes filled with books relating to Iran, but I did not choose a title yet. So I will announce a title in next week's video. If you feel strongly about wanting to continue with Palestine, please leave a comment below. But, you know, one thing I think that is evident is, and it should be evident, is that, you know, what's been happening in the Middle East since the war on terrorism, the war to find weapons of mass destruction, which did not exist, like, you know, it should be evident that certain nations have conspired together for a long, long time to achieve certain goals in the Middle East. Like, that much is clear, and if it's not clear to you, I don't know how things can be made more clear. Like, we've had papers exposed, we've had like the clean break papers exposed that, you know, outline the plan for the Middle East. Like, we've seen that first, you know, it was to go to war in Iraq and Afghanistan, which 9/11 was used as the pretext for. And then we've seen how Israel wants to expand into greater Israel and eventually take control of this whole region, and Iran is going to be a part of that plan. Like, we've seen Syria and Lebanon and, you know, all these countries that Israel is already bombing and wanting to take over. And yeah, so I think it's important to learn about Iran, because I think we will see more conflict in the future with Western powers trying to interfere and you know, achieve their own selfish goals in the Middle East. So I will come back with a title next week. But again, if you really, really want to continue reading about Palestine, let me know and we can do that as well. So just please, if you haven't already, leave your preferences in the comments below, and I'll announce a book next week then. So you get a break from reading a nonfiction book while I come up with the title that we should read. So yeah, so that was book club, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And until next time. So I have a lot to discuss in this week's rant of the week. So as I kind of already started talking about when we were discussing in our book club the last chapter, the second to last chapter of this book, which is really important, like, why do we keep on speaking up and saying free Palestine? Like, what are we trying to achieve? We are trying to achieve collective liberation. We are trying to achieve a world where everyone can be free, there will be no borders, people will have what they need. And if you can't understand how Palestine is an integral part of collective liberation, then you are blind, and, you know, chances are you are impacted by you have anti-Islam and anti-Muslim and anti-Arab hate within you. Like, there is no reason that you should not care about Palestine. Like, everything that is happening is interconnected. Everything that is happening in America is interconnected to what is happening in Palestine. And if you can't see that, like, just the mere fact that our tax dollars are used to fund this genocide, the mere fact that our tax dollars are used to give settlers in the colony that they have created, you know, in Palestine, Israel, a life that we can't even have in America, like, that should be enough to wake you up. Like, it should wake you up that billions of our tax dollars are sent to Israel every year so that they can have good healthcare, they can have cheap education, they can have housing, and, you know, not have a problem with homelessness. Whereas in America, we have so many issues. We have, like, people with massive healthcare debt. We have massive homelessness across America. We have unaffordable housing, unaffordable education, like, all these things that we are deprived of, Israel gets because of our tax dollars. And our tax dollars are used actively to kill Palestinians. We are actively giving them the weapons they need to kill Palestinians. Like, and if you still can't see how interconnected everything is, then you are just fucking blind. So let's talk about all the fucking blind people in this industry, or the people that just still refuse to care. Like, we are in stage 5 of famine in Palestine. What does stage 5 mean? This is like where your organs are just completely shutting down. And even if all this food dropped from the heavens all of a sudden and people could eat as much as they wanted, they would still be suffering because your body, your organs have already started to fail, and you need medical intervention if you are going to survive. You need medical intervention. But with all these hospitals that have been bombed into oblivion in Palestine by Israel, like, where are they going to get the medical intervention that they need? Like, doctors are not permitted to, doctors in Palestine have been killed. You've had medical workers from other nations who have come and tried to help be killed. Like, you've seen ambulances targeted and bombed deliberately, and then every time Israel is like, oh, it was a mistake, and blah, blah, blah. And what we see is anytime Palestinians tell you something like, we were deliberately killed while trying to get food, oh, no one believes them. But then when you find out many, many months later, Israel admits to, or the news comes out that yes, it was deliberate, then it's like, oh, the world is like, oh, well, that's really bad. Like, when are you going to start fucking believing Palestinians when they are telling you what is happening? Like, we have seen some real life Squid Games shit going on in Palestine. Like, the stories that are coming out of Palestine is like real life Squid Games. It is absolutely horrific what is happening in Palestine, and still people in the board game industry are fucking silent. So I want to talk about some stuff that happened recently. So what did we see in the last week? We saw two individuals die. We saw Ozzy Osbourne die and then Hulk Hogan die. So you would see people in the industry mourning the death of Ozzy Osbourne one day, and then 2 days later saying that, oh, Hulk Hogan was a racist piece of shit and it's fine to speak ill of the dead. So, I'm going to focus on my favorite person today and show you some of the things that he has said, which are just completely contradictory and shows you how he truly just does not give a shit about Palestine. So when Ozzy Osbourne died, Eric made these tweets on Blue Sky to mourn the death of Ozzy Osbourne. So he tweeted, I'm just going to call them tweets even though it's Blue Sky because whatever. So he, showed this one tweet, which is Ozzy Osbourne with these 3 crying faces. And then he wrote, I was a musician before I was a game designer. Black Sabbath is my favorite band of all time in any genre. Their self-titled debut, blah, 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 blah. It changed his life. Ozzy's haunting vocals and his demonic charisma made him an icon. Rest in peace, Prince of Darkness. Okay? So that's what he wrote. And then also Malcolm Jamal Warner was someone who died recently as well. So another person who died. And Eric Lang made a tweet about that. Slavery is white history. How we survived it is black history. All these things can be applied to Palestine. So just keep that in mind. When you read things, just think about how it can be applied to Palestine and what's happening today. Then when Hulk Hogan died, Eric Lang posted this. Days like today remind me of the lovely saying, I won't celebrate his death, but I will celebrate his silence. And then a day after that, he wrote, absolutely speak ill of the dead if they were horrible people. So yeah. And then he says, okay, yeah, so he wrote that. Yeah. Okay. So, hello. If you can speak ill of the dead because they were bad people, why are you people fucking mourning Ozzy Osbourne? He was a freaking Zionist who completely supported what Israel did. So here are all you people who are mourning the death of someone who supported Israel's actions following October 7th. Like, it is disgusting. Like, he is no better than Hulk Hogan. He is someone who is fine with civilians being killed in Palestine, and all of you people are mourning his death. Like, it's just absolutely gross. And then, so you have all these people mourning Ozzy Osbourne in this industry while talking shit about Hulk Hogan, who, by all means, talk shit about him. I don't care about him. Like, he's a racist piece of shit. Sure, talk shit about him. But you should also be talking shit about fucking Zionists and people who support what Israel does. Like, they are also terrible people. So you should not be mourning their deaths. But here you are mourning their deaths. So yeah. And then Eric Lang posted, so recently what happened was Czech Games Edition released a video and talked about some new games that they are releasing. And one of those new games is a Harry Potter Codenames game. So Codenames is like a party game that, you know, has been out for a very long time, and they have different kinds of IPs as well and stuff like that. So they're coming out with a new Harry Potter Codenames. Before people are like, oh, you like, you know, still support J.K. Rowling, blah, 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 blah. Like, no, I recognize J.K. Rowling is a transphobic person. Like, I 100% see what she is. So no, by all means, like, you know, call out, you know, companies who are, you know, giving J.K. Rowling money if you want to. Like, I don't care. Like, that's perfectly fine with me. What bothers me is the timing and how all these people are still silent about the genocide and still silent about, you know, the worst thing that is happening in the world right now. Like, I understand that J.K. Rowling funding anti-trans legislation is a terrible thing, but are there 2 million trans people whose lives are at risk right now? Tell me, are there 2 million trans people who are at risk of dying tomorrow? Like, no, there are not 2 million trans people who are at risk of dying tomorrow because of your tax dollars at work. Like, you yourself, who is complaining about Czech Games Edition, CGE, you know, creating this new game based on this transphobic IP, or an IP created by a transphobic person, rather, because the IP itself is not transphobic, it's the author. Like, you know, you are upset about that, but are you not upset about your tax dollars, like, literally being used to commit a genocide, and literally 2 million people are at risk of starving to death? Like, you aren't cared about that? Like, where is the immediate concern? Like, there is no fucking concern for that. Like, there are countless tweets being made about Czech Games Edition. There's countless discussion being had right now about them creating this game based on this IP, and all these people are still fucking ignoring the genocide, are fucking ignoring how 2 million Palestinians are at risk of death right now because of forced starvation. Like, all these people are just ignoring that right now. We see content creators, you know, creating multiple posts. We've seen Rodney Smith from Rodney Smith from Watch It Played sharing a tweet from someone else on Blue Sky about this whole thing. We've seen countless people like Easy Cat from Jason Headley posting about it on Facebook. We've seen so many content creators saying that they are no longer going to cover any games from Czech Games Edition because of them creating this game based on this IP by this transphobic author. Yet, these people have no problems with supporting Zionists in the industry. And how do we know fucking Helena Kappel is a Zionist? Because again, if it walks like a Zionist, if it talks like a Zionist, it's a fucking Zionist. Like, if someone has an issue with you saying the words Palestinian lives matter, what are they? They're a fucking Zionist. Like, who else takes issue with the words Palestinian lives matter when Palestinians are being killed by Israelis? Like, who else would take issue with those words? Like, if trans people were being killed right now and I said trans lives matter, and someone came to me and said, oh, no, you should not say trans lives matter, and we're not gonna like let you review a game of ours now because you said trans lives matter, what would you call that person? What would you say about that person? You would say, oh, they're transphobic. Like, that's what they are. And, you know, trans lives don't matter to them. Like, why are they taking issue with that statement? So why does this reasoning not apply to someone who has an issue with people saying Palestinian lives matter? And again, you know, people are always like, oh, she took an issue with you. You know, it's not anyone else in the industry. She just had an issue with you. Like, Helena's not a Zionist. Why did she have an issue with me? Like, where does the common sense, the deduction skills, like, do you people not have any? Like, seriously, do you people have no fucking critical thinking skills? Why did she take an issue with me? She took an issue with me because I said Palestinian lives matter. And that is abundantly clear from the recording I released in 2021 of our conversation. Helena Kappel does not like people saying Palestinian lives matter, but she is perfectly fine with people saying Black Lives Matter. If that doesn't give you the information you need to know that she's a fucking Zionist, I don't know what will. Like, it could not be any more clearer than it is. Yet here we have all these people who are happy to support Zionists in the industry, like Eric Lang, you know, talking about how Czech Games Edition is, you know, really bad and blah, 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 blah. So Eric posted actually today on Blue Sky. I guess CGE can block me too. Making a Harry Potter game in 2025 without acknowledging the harm of transphobia at a bare minimum is a political statement. Intent doesn't matter. It's worth noting that it's unlikely CGE has personally blocked trans authors. Rather than themselves being added to massive block lists many of us are subscribed to. Mea culpa for the blocking accusation. That's irresponsible pile-on. The rest stands though. So here again, you know, just switch out the words and make it about Palestine. But no one fucking cares about Palestine. There are 2 million people at risk of starvation because of our tax dollars, because of everything that's, you know, this genocide that we are funding, and no one fucking cares. But everyone is having this, you know, a meltdown about CGE and this game when trans lives are not at immediate risk. Like, yes, they are at risk, of course, because we have a government in power that doesn't care about trans lives, you know, and we have an individual who is very wealthy who, you know, contributes to anti-trans legislation to get that passed. But there are not 2 million trans people at risk of being killed right now, where there are 2 million Palestinians at risk of dying right now. Like, there are 2 million Palestinians who could die because we are starving them in this genocide. Like, unbelievable. So I'm just really angry at the hypocrisy, the double standards that continue to exist in this industry. Something that Eric Lang posted yesterday was, "You may not like my political or social opinions, but I promise I'll never hide them or lie about them. What you see is what you get." Personally, I feel like this is Eric Lang just outing himself as a Zionist. Like, hello, if you're not hiding things and you're supporting a Zionist publisher, I guess you're just telling us that you're a fucking Zionist, because, like, you've not once come out and said you're anti-Zionist. You've not once condemned the genocide. You've not once condemned, you know, the starvation of Palestinians. Like, at a fucking bare minimum, do that. Like, at a fucking bare minimum, condemn the starvation of Palestinians. But he has not done that. Yet, when October 7th happened, he felt the need to release a statement condemning the actions of Hamas and expressing sympathy with the Israelis and Jewish people. Yet, you know, countless Palestinians have been killed since then. Not one post expressing sympathy with the Palestinians. Not one post condemning the genocide. I think it's pretty fucking clear where Eric Lang stands. I think it's pretty fucking clear where people like his minions stand, who have not once made one statement condemning the genocide. It's the bare fucking minimum, and you haven't done the bare fucking minimum. Like, unfucking believable that people in this industry still worship assholes like Eric Lang and other people in this industry who do business with Zionist publishers like Our Family Plays Games, who are sponsored by a fucking Zionist publisher. Like, unfucking believable that people still look up to these people as being champions of human rights in this industry when they're basically showing you where their priorities are. They're showing you that money is more important to them than the lives of Palestinians. They are showing you how they, in fact, have anti-Muslim and anti-Arab hate, because clearly they've been affected by the dehumanization propaganda of Arabs and Muslims, that they don't give even the single, like, slightest amount of concern about Palestinians and can't bring themselves to even condemn the fucking starvation of Palestinians. Anyway, Eric posted today, "Hey, miss me with the whataboutisms. Why don't you also boycott X? Can be a valid discussion in the abstract. Timing matters. But if your only contribution to a particular protest is whataboutism, expect reasonable suspicion of bad faith." This to me seems like he's just anticipating what someone like me might say. Like, hey, Eric, like, what about Palestine. Like, I just want to remind people, like, how Eric Lang whataboutismed me back in 2021 when I called out his shitty take on Palestine. Here is a guy who will always say whataboutisms are in bad faith. Whataboutisms are just shitty, blah, 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 blah. Well, when I called out his shitty take on Palestine in 2021, when Israel was busy killing Palestinians like it always does, Eric Lang came back to me. The first thing he said to me was, oh, well, do you care about the Uyghurs? Do you care about the Rohingya? Do you care about this? And it's like, yeah, Eric, I fucking do. I actually have posted about those things on my Twitter as well. But don't come at me with whataboutisms when I'm addressing you and your shitty take on Palestine. Eric Lang is not innocent when it comes to fucking whataboutisms. And yes, timing fucking matters. There are 2 million Palestinians at risk of dying from mass starvation that is created by Israel. Like, this is not a natural famine. This is a human imposed famine by Israel, okay? So yes, timing fucking matters. Are there 2 million trans people at risk of dying right now? No, there are not. But there are 2 million people at risk of dying from starvation because of Israel, because of our tax dollars, because of people's fucking silence. Like, if there's anything that we can learn is that we need a large amount of people to use their voices together collectively in order to get collective liberation. There is no fucking collective liberation when you are fucking ignoring the biggest atrocity of our time, which is the genocide of the Palestinians. And people like Eric Lang, Our Family Plays Games, Rodney Smith, Suzanne Sheldon, all these people in this fucking industry who claim to be about human rights are completely ignoring the genocide, have never once posted a single thing about it. I posted this image in my stories. So as people know, I share a lot of stories about Palestine, and I have been doing so since it started, since the genocide began. So I'm just so fucking angry because I see countless people with huge platforms looking at my stories who have never once shared a single story about Palestine. Not one. So I posted this the other day. Yesterday. I'm shooting this on a Sunday, so I posted this on Saturday, and I said, fuck you if you've never shared one story about Palestine. If you have a large platform, a significant platform where you sharing a story about what's going on could open up someone's eyes, could make someone see what is the reality, then you should be doing that. Like, what is the fucking point of having influence when you're not fucking using it for good? Like, you're just showing that you're just a zombie. You're just a capitalist zombie, and all you care about is lining your pockets with money or getting free games. Like, what is the fucking point of having a large platform if you're not going to use it for good? What is fucking wrong with these people? Like, what is fucking wrong with them? Like, I seriously do not understand so many humans on this planet, especially in this fucking board game industry. I see countless people looking at my stories. I see so many people looking at my stories who have really huge platforms and have not yet once condemned the genocide, have not yet once used their platform for good. Yet, if we were seeing, number one, police brutality against Black people has never ended. Let's get that straight. That is still happening. I shared a story about it just a few days ago, like this one Black man who, was pulled out of his car, just another horrific story in America. So police brutality against Black people has never ended. But let's suppose that, we saw mass protests right now because, again, people were, something really, really terrible happened, or there was a huge quantity of it at one point in time that caused people to protest in the streets. Do you think that these people would then be silent? No, they would then say Black Lives Matter because it's the safe thing to do. It's safe to say Black Lives Matter. It's safe to say trans lives matter, but it's not safe to say Palestinian lives matter. It's not safe to raise awareness about a genocide. But why is that? Why fucking is that? It's because Zionists still fucking control this industry like they fucking control almost every industry. They fucking control the media. Zionists fucking control the media, mass media, and what we see in mass media. And that's why you have to read independently published books, and you have to follow people on Instagram and TikTok who are telling you, things that you won't get in mainstream media. They're showing you the news that you won't get in mainstream media. Like, this industry is just so unbelievably fucking disappointing, and I'm sick of being like the only person who's calling out these shitty people like Eric Lang on his shitty takes. Like, He knows exactly what he's doing when he says, miss me with the whataboutisms. Like, he fucking knows what he's doing. He fucking knows that this is a preemptive tweet in order to prevent whataboutisms about Palestine or anything else. For a man who has stayed dead silent about the genocide and has never once condemned it, who is friends with fucking known Zionists in this industry. Like, we can fucking say at this point that Eric Lang is a fucking Zionist, or at the bare minimum, a Zionist show. Like, there is no ifs or buts about it. He has shown his face to you. He has shown you what he is. And what you would be doing in World War II is what you're fucking doing right now. Don't ever think for a second that if you were alive during World War II and the genocide of the Jews was going on, that you would have stood up and been like, oh, this is really terrible. No, you wouldn't have. You would have been the fucking coward and shill you are, and you would have stayed silent, because what you are doing now is what you would have done during World War II. You are a fucking Zionist or a fucking Zionist shill, and you should be so fucking ashamed of yourself. So fucking ashamed of yourself. If you've built a platform on human rights like Eric Lang has, like, let's be real, he's fucking built his platform on standing up for causes that need to be stood up for, except for Palestine, then he should be fucking ashamed of himself for his complete and utter silence about Palestine. Like, it's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. And the fact that people like him are worshipped in this industry and are given this celebrity status is absolutely disgusting. Anyone who is silent in this industry is disgusting. Like, seriously, I have no respect for people with large platforms who have not once used their platform to condemn the genocide or raise awareness about what is happening. You know, there's even people who had been silent up until now, and I'm perfectly happy with them at least now sharing stories. Like, there's people who never once said anything, but now with the mass starvation, with, 2 million people's lives at imminent risk of these people just dying of starvation, we are now seeing more and more people share stories. And thank God. Like, am I angry it took you this fucking long? Yes, because were beheaded Palestinian babies not enough to get you to share stories? Is the fact that there are more orphans in Palestine than anywhere else in the world not enough to get you to share stories? Was the fact that there are more kids and babies with amputations in Palestine than anywhere else in the world not enough to get you to share stories about Palestine? Was, were all the images of Palestinians with their, organs spilling out of them not enough to get you to care? Like, apparently that stuff wasn't enough, but now the mass starvation of Palestinians is finally fucking enough to get you to say something. But at least you're fucking saying something now. I think the reason that we see people saying something now when they weren't saying something before is because it's safe to say, oh, don't starve people. Like, starving people is wrong. But, like, it should be safe to say, don't behead people. Don't kill children. Like, it should be perfectly fucking safe to say that. And if you have hesitation about saying that, if you have hesitation about speaking up for Palestinians and babies and children and adults, because these adults did nothing wrong. These adults do not deserve to fucking die. Like, why? Why do you have this hesitation? That requires introspection. That requires you to examine why you fucking have this hesitation about speaking up for Palestinians. And it boils down to the dehumanization of Arabs and Muslims. That's what it fucking boils down to. It boils down to all the Zionist propaganda you've been fed and that you fucking believe because you refuse to fucking educate yourself. There is no fucking excuse for Eric Lang to be silent. He's had plenty of fucking time to educate himself about this issue. It's not complicated, as he's called it before. There is nothing fucking complicated about a genocide. Like, I cannot explain to you how much I fucking hate people like Eric Lang, because they are fucking shills and they are not these are not authentic, genuine people. If you claim to be about human rights, it should be about all fucking human rights. And if it isn't, then you're a fucking liar. You're just a fucking liar. You're just a pretender. That's what you fucking are. Like, acknowledge your anti-Muslim and anti-Arab hate within you. Acknowledge it and figure out what to fucking do about it. Undo it. Educate yourself. Like, I'm so over these people. I so fucking hate these people. I fucking hate Israel, and I fucking hate the people who are Zionist shills. Like, I fucking hate Israel, I fucking hate Zionism, and I fucking hate Zionist shills in this industry. Like, you had every opportunity to fucking educate yourself. Now we've completed a total of 4 books in my Palestine book club. We've completed reading the 100 Years War on Palestine. We read Israel, 10 Myths About Israel. We read Palestine, A 4,000-Year History. And we read Genocide Bad. And we've been reading them at a fucking snail's pace. Like, you've had so much fucking opportunity to educate yourself. Everyone has the fucking time to read and educate themselves. If you have the fucking time to post about Ozzy Osbourne, fucking Zionist who was happy with Palestinians being killed, you have fucking time to read and educate yourself. There's no fucking excuse for these people. And they will go down in history as being fucking Zionist shills, as Palestinians were being killed with their tax dollars. Like, just disgusting, just utterly, utterly disgusting. And I wish it wasn't just me. Like, other people need to fucking speak up. Like, where are you? Why aren't you saying anything to these fucking Zionist these shills? Like, you should be posting on their posts and being like, hey, Eric, yeah, what about Palestine? Like, he made this preemptive post to try to shut down any conversation about Palestine. Like, that should show you his state of mind. That should show you his true intentions. Like, his words are showing you what he is. Like, they're just showing you what he is. But still, people are going to worship him in this industry. If anything, the genocide should show you, like, who really should get your attention. Like, is it the influencers who never talk about anything important, who have not once condemned the genocide and continue to get you to buy stuff? Like, are those the people you really should be caring about? Or should you care about people who actually care about what's happening in the world? Like, it's just so fucking disappointing. Like, it's sickening, it's disappointing, it's disgusting. So anyway, so that's my rant of the week. I'm just unbelievably, like, disgusted by these people. It's just, yeah. You know, and I'm the one who comes off as being crazy, the pariah in the industry. No, I'm the one who's on the fucking right side of history, while you are all on the wrong fucking side of history as this genocide happens. And I will remind you that you are on the wrong fucking side of history if you ever try to pretend, like, if Eric Lang in the future tries to ever act like he was on the right side of history about this, no. I will be sure that people are reminded of how he was on the wrong fucking side of history. This is just beyond disgusting, and people need to stop worshiping these losers in this industry. And you are a loser if you don't use your platform, your large platform, to raise awareness about this genocide. Just unbelievable. Seriously. Please, if you are watching my videos and you follow any of these people, just leave one comment. You don't need to use swear words. You don't need to be like, hey, Eric, you're a fucking moron. You're a fucking Zionist shill, which he is. You don't need to say that. You can talk in a calm manner. I'm always angry. So I'm always angry at people like this. So, you don't have to be like me. You don't have to be angry like me. You can talk in a calm and collected manner and tell these people what fucking Zionist shills they are and see what they say. But no one fucking does. And like, as I've mentioned before, Eric allows Zionist comments and propaganda to remain on his posts on Facebook. Like, he is showing you what he is. If someone shows you what they are, believe them. Isn't that what these people say all the time? If someone shows you what they are, fucking believe them. Eric Lang is showing you, at the bare minimum, he's a fucking Zionist shill. So believe him. He is a fucking Zionist shill. Yeah, okay, end of rant, I guess. Yeah, all right. So in this week's question of the week, I'm not going to ask you about what your favorite game is in whatever genre, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So I showed you my new copy of Railroad Tiles earlier in this video, and it came with a lot of punch boards, and I mean a lot of punch boards, because there were a shit ton of tiles and other small tokens that needed punching. By the time I was done punching this game, I had this huge stack of punch boards. Now, the way I punch games is I, punch everything out and I hold it over an empty box. So I usually hold it over the empty box lid and I push everything out, and then I examine it, the punch board, before I toss it off to the side. And I do this with every single punch board. So I, again, punch it over an empty lid and then make sure everything ends up in that lid, and then examine the punch board before I throw it off to the side. But I am so paranoid that I still missed something. So then afterwards, when I've sorted everything out, put everything into bags, whatever, blah, 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 I then put aside the punch boards and decide I'll come back to them like a couple days later. Like I literally do this for every game. So then I will re-examine the punch boards and go through them one by one to make sure I didn't miss a single thing. I want to know, are you as paranoid as I am? The only reason I think I've turned into this really paranoid person about punch boards is because one time I almost did miss something, and thank God I saw it before I recycled all the punch boards. But I think that one time where I missed like one small token has made me so paranoid that I feel the need to like very thoroughly examine each punch board multiple times before I can bring myself to recycle it finally. So I want to know, am I the only crazy one, or do you do that as well? I want to know what your punching method is. How do you actually punch stuff out of punch boards? And do you examine it once, more than once? What do you do? Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, bye.